Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean. This is UCM Pigs Motovlogs, and today, still out in California. Not literally. These videos are a little late. Check out that church over here. Right over there. So today we're going to talk about this 2023 Indian Pursuit Dark Horse that I rented while out here on travel in San Diego. But before we get started, let me remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always on my channel, if you don't feel like typing words, just leave me an emoji. Let me know you're here. I'd greatly appreciate that. So I have spent the day riding this beautiful 2023 Indian Pursuit Dark Horse in this royal blue. I don't know what it's called. Maybe I'll post it in here. But it's an absolutely gorgeous bike. I was kind of on the fence if I was going to get this one, but I wanted to do a complete dresser from Indian. And this one is new, and I figured, you know what, let's give this a shot and see what it's all about. Now, the whole point of this video is I really don't want to call it a review. It's just kind of my thoughts, and it's kind of comparison to my Harley-Davidson Ultra Classic that I ride. Now, I ride a 2016 Harley-Davidson Ultra Classic, which is a dresser, and I wanted to get a feel of an Indian full dresser for a good day's ride. Now, I have put this thing through the works. I've ran a tank and a half of gas through it. I don't know how many miles, because I didn't set the trip thing, but I've been on this bike since 8 o'clock this morning, and it's going on 4 right now. And I've done everything from freeway riding to in-town, neighborhood, back road twisties, all kinds of stuff on this bike, and I've put it through the ringer, and I'm very impressed with it. So let's talk about some of the features of it. Now, I have done a thoughts video on the Challenger, which is what this bike, I guess, is based on, with the fixed fairing and everything. A couple things that the Pursuit has other than the Challenger, obviously, is a tour pack and lowers. I'm not sure of all the details. The windshield's a little taller. I'm not too crazy about this windshield. It is the one that goes up and down. What I don't like about it is when it's all the way down, it is, the top of it is right in my field of vision, and you get kind of that fisheye thing when you're looking, you know, through that part of the windshield. So I have to put the windshield up a little bit and look through the windshield, which I'm not a fan of either. So if this was my bike, I would have to do something about this windshield, get something a little lower. Of course, it would be smoked too, because that's how I roll. A couple other things I want to point out about it. The infotainment system is fabulous. It's got a great GPS. I've had no problem using this GPS today. No weird rerouting. The display is easy to use. You can cycle through everything pretty easily on this display. So it is a very good infotainment system. In the front fairing, you have these nice vents here in the front fairing. I was a little concerned about that. I don't know if that's an option in the Challenger. I just noticed it on this bike. It may have been in that Challenger I rented, I don't know, but it gave me a little more airflow during the middle of the day today when it got a little warmer. Now, one thing I do want to point out about this bike that I absolutely love, going back to these lowers down here. On my Harley, I have to reach down there and manipulate this thing to open the vents on my lowers. And pretty much, I'm way down here riding down the highway, or I have to wait till I get to a traffic light and reach way down there and free up a hand. These things have boot levers, so you can just reach up with the toe of your boot and open and shut the vent in the lower. Harley-Davidson, behind the power curve, dude. Y'all got to get on that. That is something super simple. That is right there, to me, is money. Now, moving right along with some of the things that I'd like to compare, is I want to stay apples to apples. Let's talk about this tour pack. Now, I'm not a big fan of this Indian tour pack. Maybe it's just because I'm used to a Harley one. This bike says it has 35 gallons of storage. It's a large tour pack, don't get me wrong, but it just seems deeper than wider. And then it opens forward, and for me, it was, I like to sit my helmet on the back seat. It was bumping that helmet, and I could imagine if I was traveling and had stuff on the back seat, that could cause a problem right there. I'm not too sure. I'm sure I can work around it, but just some of the differences. It does have a liner. It does have a 12-volt power port back there for charging things, and all of the latches, even on the saddlebags, they all are lockable from the key fob. So you can push a button just like you do in your car. You lock all your compartments, push a button, and they open up, which I really like that as well. Saddlebags are pretty standard, about the same size as a Harley saddlebag. But you know, it's a saddlebag. I got to get over. I'm talking and not paying attention where I'm going. The aesthetics of this bike, again, I'm a huge fan of the Indian look. They have got it right. I think it's a fantastic looking bike. I like the Dark Horse trim line, if you will, with the all blacked out, and then with this blue color, it really pops. I like the iconic Indian head on the front. I like some of the tip of the hat to the old school Indian on the derby cover, things like that. I really like the styling of this motorcycle. So let's talk about performance. Now, I am not going to quote all these numbers like I know. I do know a few things. This is a 108 cubic inch engine. It puts out about 122 horsepower and 128 pounds of torque. It will get it, y'all, especially if you put it in the sport mode. This thing is a rocket. Now, again, I'm coming from a twin cam 103 on my Ultra, which I'm very pleased with that, man. We got straps in the road. I like my 103, no complaints. I'm not racing, but this thing answers the call. Very nimble. I think I mentioned it in my Challenger thoughts. This bike does not feel like a bagger. It is very light. It is very nimble. It handles the curves. It tracks around the curves. It doesn't feel top heavy. It's a fantastic bike. I'm able to flat foot it on this bike, so no problem controlling it in low speed situations. Very pleased with it. Another thing I want to point out about the handling is the suspension. Now, I don't know the details on the suspension, but this factory suspension is nice. I was out today on some pretty rough roads, a lot of bumps, a lot of ruts, a lot of grooves, and this thing, I can daylight and darkness to my Ultra. This has a very nice, comfortable suspension. I have no complaints with the suspension at all. As far as braking, looks like it has Brembo brakes all the way around with the ABS. And didn't have no problem stopping. It stopped great. Now, let's move on, continuing on comfort. Let's talk about the seat. Now, I beat up both the Challenger and the Chieftain stock seats. I'm still running a stock seat on my Ultra, and I don't mind my Harley stock seat. I've done a lot of miles on it. Today, my butt was given out on this thing. It is a little more comfortable. I think it does have a little more padding than the Challenger, but again, I would have to go to an aftermarket seat, something a little wider. It's a very narrow seat, and it just feels awkward to me, and that could just be I'm used to the wide Harley seat. I'm missing all my exits. I got it. So that's what happens when you're just following a GPS and trying to vlog at the same time. Everybody's looking at me. So all in all, I'm very pleased with this motorcycle. If you are considering moving up to a touring motorcycle, this one should be a contender. You definitely should go check out the Pursuit and take it for a ride. And I would highly recommend something more than a 10-minute, ride, just a demo ride. I would get out and ride it, for a day. Go rent one. This thing cost me right at about $200 to rent, so for 24 hours. So I think it's well worth it, especially if you're going to be sinking a significant amount of money into a vehicle. Go out and ride it and see what you think. I think you will be impressed. So that's it on my thoughts on this 2023 Pursuit. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found it informative if you're thinking about getting one of these bikes. And again, if you're like me and you do some travel for work, think about taking an Indian for a rental. Very pleased with Indian of San Diego. They have bent over backwards for me, helping me out with this motorcycle, and making sure I had what I needed and making sure everything was set for this trip today. And I really appreciate Indian Motorcycles of San Diego working with me. So especially if you're ever here in the San Diego area, make sure you go check them out and tell them Sean sent you from UCM Pigs Motovlogs. So I'm getting all out of my way right now. I have to stop vlogging because I got to get back to the dealer and return this thing. So until we talk again, you guys be careful. You guys be safe. Always keep your shiny side up, and we'll talk to you next time.